We see the aerial view of Seoul, South Korea. Sung Jin-Woo is seen crossing the street, looking a little depressed. Jin-Woo's overall strength was almost the same as a regular human being, with the exception of being a bit stronger and his wounds healing slightly faster. Jin-Woo was about the same as regular people in every other aspect. He'd always end up getting injured. He nearly died several times, too. Of course, it wasn't as if Sung Jin-Woo liked being a hunter. Unfortunately, someone like Sung Jin-Woo, in his mid-20s and lacking in any tangible job skills, there was no other way but to remain as a hunter if he wanted to pay for his mother's hospital fee of millions of won every month. We then see a construction site where all the hunters were gathered waiting for the raid. The hunters who had arrived early sipped on the cups of coffee handed out by the association's employee and shared cordial greetings with each other. We then see Mr. Kim at the coffee stall drinking his coffee. As Mr. Kim was enjoying his coffee, we see someone call out to him.
"Oh, hey! Mr. Kim, over here, here!"
It was a friend of Mr. Kim's, Mr. Park.
"Oh, Mr. Park, what are you doing here? I thought you were giving up on being a hunter."
"Well, my wife is pregnant with our second child."
"Ah, is that so? Yeah, for a hunter to earn big in one go, participating in a raid is the best, isn't it?"
By the way, why do I feel like that the association is calling on us less and less nowadays? Did the number of gates decrease or something?
Hey, of course not. That's only because the guilds are getting all worked up over clearing the gates. It's got nothing to do with the association. I hear that various guilds are jumping in with both feet since there's big profit involved in this whole thing.
Well, in that case, since this raid is being supervised by the association, it should be safe, no?
Mr. Park took a glance around as if he was getting nervous. It wasn't just Mr. Park, other hunters were nervously glancing around as well.
I wonder.
Mr. Kim finished the rest of his coffee while avoiding answering his friend, before spotting a certain someone and raised his hand in happiness.
He's here. Hey, Mr. Song. Mr. Song.
Other hunters also displayed joy at discovering that young man. It was none other than Sung Jin-Woo. After making sure Jin-Woo was well out of earshot, Mr. Kim began sniggering while confidently speaking up.
"So, Jin-Woo showed up. Then it's going to be okay today, too."
Mr. Park's eyes widened up and he hurriedly asked Kim.
What was that? Is that Hunter Sung Jin-Woo really strong?
"Ah. Right, of course, you wouldn't know who he is. He's a hunter who started working shortly after you left, you see. However, every hunter here knows who that kid is by now."
He's really that strong? Wait, why is he working for the association then? Why not for a guild or as a freelancer?
Kim sniggered some more before narrowing his eyes.
"You know what that guy's nickname is?"
How should I know that? Come on, man, just tell me already.
"The world's weakest hunter."
Weakest? Not something like the strongest?
Dude, that's the nickname for the rank S hunter Sung Jin-Woo. That kid is the weakest hunter. I'm pretty sure he's the weakest hunter in the Republic of Korea.
Really?
Park began frowning deeply. Why would other hunters greet this Sung Jin-Woo if he was really that weak? After all, didn't they need someone to trust their backs if things went south? Park couldn't really understand the reactions of other hunters.
Hey, the raid Sung Jin-Woo participates in will only have low difficulty because he's so weak. The association would never entrust him with a tough job, don't you get that? They don't want to see him get killed, right?
Only then did Park's expression brighten up.
Right. Yeah.
His wife was deeply worried about him since this would be his first raid in quite a while. Honestly, even he himself was worried, too. However, now that he listened to Kim's words, he felt like a weight was lifted off his mind. Kim continued on.
"That guy, there was a rumor not too long ago that said he got injured participating in a raid of a rank E gate and spent a week in the hospital."
A hunter got injured by a rank E gate?
That's right. No one expected to see a hunter getting injured during a rank E gate raid, so they didn't even bring along a healer, apparently.
That's why he spent a week in a hospital? Ha ha ha!
When Park began guffawing too loudly, Kim hurriedly hushed him.
"Stop it, man. Mr. Song might hear you."
I didn't think of that.
Park cautiously checked Jin-Woo's reactions as he continued to giggle. Thankfully, the distance was far enough and the youth didn't seem to have heard them. Of course, they were mistaken.
"I can hear everything, you geezers."
It seemed that he arrived too early and the raid was yet to commence.
"Did I arrive too early?"
Jin-Woo looked around to while away the waiting time, spotted the association employee handing out warm coffee, and walked closer.
"Can I get a cup of coffee as well?"
Oh! Sung Jin-Woo, I'm really sorry. But we ran out of coffee just now.
The cold winter breeze brushed past the tip of his nose. What a sad day it was, for the coffee to run out as soon as it was his turn to get one. We then see a young, beautiful girl using healing magic in front of Jin-Woo. It was Ju-hee. She expressed how unhappy she was with a pouting expression. Ju-hee then asked Jin-Woo.
Why is your face hurt again?
Jin-Woo replied.
Don't know, it just happened while I was hunting.
Really, what actually happened?
Asked Ju-hee, worriedly. Jin-Woo then explained the whole situation, how he got injured and woke up in a hospital. He further explained how he was the only one to get injured in a rank E dungeon. Ju-hee replied looking shocked.
Huh? How could that happen?
Jin-Woo then further explained that how all the hunters were higher ranked, so they didn't even brought a healer. Ju-hee with a surprised expression said.
Even so, they really didn't bring a healer, just because they would be safe?
It's okay. It's only because I'm weak. I'm used to it. Miss Ju-hee also knows that, right?
Ju-hee then quietly stares towards Jin-Woo with a concerned look on her face.
Well, looks like everyone's getting ready to go into the gate. Let's go as well.
Okay.
We then see Mr. Song shouting, calling upon everyone.
We're off to go happy hunting, so I'm not really qualified to say this, but I'd like to be the party leader for this raid. Is that alright with you people?
We then see Mr. Kim replying.
Mr. Song, you're the highest ranked here. I've got no problems.
Mr. Park also replied.
Well, if it's Mr. Song, we can trust him. It's been a while since I've witnessed his skills.
Other people replied in favor of Mr. Song as well. Yeah, I agree as well. Yeah, count me in. Me too.
Take care of us, Mr. Song.
Replied Jin-Woo.
Alright, then let's enter the dungeon.
We then see Mr. Kim saying to Jin-Woo that.
Try not to get injured behind us, okay?
Jin-Woo replied in an embarrassed voice, haha okay. Ju-hee then enters the dungeon saying.
Let's go with Jin-Woo.
Jin-Woo replying.
Okay, okay.
We then see Jin-Woo took a deep breath and said.
I'm gonna try my best today.
Jin-Woo then enters the dungeon. Inside the dungeon, a dozen plus hunters were taking care of the monsters without so much as breaking a sweat. Unfortunately, for a rank E, such a feat was nearly impossible. Normally, the job of healing the injured hunters from the back fell on the healers. Since he always got injured during raids, Jin-Woo was rather well known among the healers. Ju-hee cautiously asked him.
Perchance, is there a reason why you can't give up being a hunter?
Jin-Woo resolutely shook his head. He didn't want to reveal anything personal to other people. So Jin-Woo replied.
I'm only doing this as a hobby. If I don't do this, I'll probably die of boredom, actually.
Ju-hee pouted even more.
If you continue on with this hobby of yours, soon you'd be raiding a dungeon in the netherworld, you know?
Jin-Woo was taken off guard from her remark and ended up chuckling out loudly. Thanks to that, Ju-hee's nagging intensified.
Don't laugh, don't. Your injuries might get worse.
Jin-Woo giggled before asking her.
Where did you even learn to say stuff like that?
What do you mean, where? It's from Mr. Kim, way over there.
Jin-Woo glanced towards that direction and saw Mr. Kim and Mr. Park having a conversation. As they chatted and laughed, his treatment was almost over. It was already too late by then, though. It seemed that the raid was pretty much over now. Jin-Woo's expression hardened. He then thought.
I only killed a single monster today.
A rank E creature, no less. Sung Jin-Woo began fidgeting with the rank E magic crystal in his hand. The lowest grade magic crystal from a rank E monster fetched less than 100,000 won. For something he bet his life to earn, it was a pathetically small amount. Just over $88. A magic crystal from a rank C monster can sell for over 10 million won, though. 88.30 dollars. Too bad, a rank E hunter such as himself couldn't even attempt to kill a monster with a rank as high as C. Out of the blue, someone shouted out.
Ah. Hey, there's another entrance over here.
The nearby hunters rushed over there. It's true. There really is another path. Just as that hunter said, there was an entrance hidden within the dungeon itself. Mr. Song was surprised to see the entrance, and said.
A dual dungeon, is it? So, such a thing actually exists for real.
Mr. Song, possessing over 10 years' experience as a hunter, looked into the hidden entrance and displayed how surprised he was. The interior of the hidden, cave-like passage was dark and nothing could be seen. Mr. Song activated his speciality, flame magic, and tossed it further forward into the passage. The flame flew forward and illuminated the interior. The passageway seemed to go on forever. Soon enough, the flame lost its forward momentum, fell to the ground and smoldered for a bit before flickering out of existence. The passage was shrouded in darkness once more.
Everyone, gather around. Let's have a meeting.
The unspoken leader of this raid, Mr. Song, called for other hunters to gather around. Jin-Woo's treatment was over by then, so he and Ju-hee also joined in. Song spoke up while sweeping his gaze over the gathered hunters.
As you know very well, a gate will not close unless the dungeon's boss is killed. Since the gate itself is still intact even though we took care of all the monsters here, that can only mean that the boss is beyond that passageway.
Song pointed towards the hidden entrance. Hunters exchanged meaningful glances and nodded their heads. No one could disagree with that notion. Song continued on.
Now normally, we're supposed to relay this information back to the association and wait for their decision first, but if we do that, we might end up handing over the task of killing the boss to other hunters, and our takings for today's raid would decrease by a lot.
The expressions of the hunters crumpled. Park's face hardened more than anyone else since he needed a lot of cash for his wife's pregnancy. At this rate, there'd be no meaning behind him risking his life to participate in this raid. Hunters fell into a deep contemplation. Song coughed to draw everyone's attention to himself.
Since we have 17 people here, let's put this to a vote, shall we? Once the decision has been made, no one complains. So, how about it?
Others nodded their heads after hearing Song's suggestion. No one was disagreeing with him.
I vote for going ahead.
Song raised his hand, and then, other hunters began raising their hands one by one. Me too. Count me in as well. Park was the first to raise his hand, followed shortly after by Kim and a few other hunters. Of course, those disagreeing were plentiful, too. Let's go back. I feel that it'd be better to wait for the association's decision. The two opposing camps were neck and eventually, the final votes came down to Jin-Woo and Ju-hee.
I'm sorry.
Ju-hee bowed to Song and added her vote to retreat camp, and so, the vote count for go ahead and retreat was at 8-8. A deadlock. Song asked the hesitant Sung Jin-Woo next.
And you, Mr. Song?
Everything now depended on Sung Jin-Woo's decision. Jin-Woo's fingers grasped tight the rank E magic crystal in his hand as he took a glance next to him. Ju-hee was shaking her head at him. It looked like she was deeply worried. Actually, Jin-Woo was worried inwardly as well. Now normally, he would never try to take on any unnecessary risk. Not only did he lack the abilities to do so, but he was also not brave enough, too. However, Jin-Woo had a younger sister who was about to become a university student in the coming months.
I've no money saved up.
Currently, Jin-Woo was 24 years old. He was at an age where he should be concentrating on his academic pursuits, but he gave up on that dream because, well, he had no money. He sure as hell didn't want his little sister to go through the same sacrifice, the same pain as he did. Also, it wasn't only about his sister, he also had to look after his sick mother who was in the hospital at the time. Right now, every cent was precious to him. Jin-Woo raised his hand up high.
I vote for going ahead.
So with Jin-Woo's vote it was decided that the party would go in the dungeon. The passageway went on and on forever. In front, Mr. Song and other strong hunters had taken the lead. Song had summoned a small flame on top of his palm to illuminate the way forward. Mr. Kim asked him as he walked alongside Song.
We've walked really far, haven't we? Shouldn't we consider the time we need to escape from here as well?
How long have we been walking?
Kim looked at his wristwatch.
Around 40 minutes.
A gate shuts down completely 1 hour after the boss is killed, so we have a window of 20 minutes left or so.
If we can't see the boss in the next 20 minutes, I suggest that we should just give up.
I guess so.
We then see Jin-Woo and Ju-hee walking at the very back of the group. This spot was reserved for the both of them, as Jin-Woo was injured pretty badly not too long ago, and Ju-hee, who didn't possess any combat skills whatsoever. As they both were walking, Jin-Woo apologized to Ju-hee.
Pardon me, I'm really sorry.
About what?
About, dragging you here against your wishes.
I'm fine with it, so you don't need to mind me.
Jin-Woo cautiously studied Ju-hee's expression. She definitely did not look fine at all. Jin-Woo tilted his head this way and that while trying to read her mood better, before he asked her again, even more cautious than before.
Are you really fine?
That prompted Ju-hee to shift her gaze towards him.
Of course I'm not. Are you of a sane mind? If you were stabbed a couple of inches higher, you'd have a hole in your heart by now. And what about those injuries on your arms and legs? I worked so hard to heal you somehow, yet you wish to throw yourself into yet another dungeon? Plus, you don't even know where we're going to.
She spoke so quickly that Jin-Woo felt like his mind was getting numb from hearing her. However, she was right about everything. If it weren't for the presence of the outstanding healer ranked B, E Ju-hui, Jin-Woo wouldn't have been able to carry on living unaffected, never mind working as a hunter. It was a small wonder why such high-ranked and hard-to-find healers were valued so greatly within the halls of the association.
Wait, now that I think about it, I owe Miss Ju-hee a lot, don't I?
Ju-hui was a healer-type hunter, a rarest of the rare breeds. Not only that, she was a genius ranked at B as well. The association always asked her to heal the injured hunters whenever a gate opened up. And whenever Jin-Woo participated in a raid, he'd almost always end up sitting down next to her. When Jin-Woo looked dispirited, Ju-hui also felt a bit bad about scolding him just now, and her attitude softened up considerably. And she asked,
You're really sorry?
Yes, I am.
Ju-hui fell into a deep contemplation for a bit, before she began gazing at him with the corner of her eyes and her lips slowly arched up.
If you're really sorry, then how about you buy me dinner sometime?
Now that was a totally unexpected offer. Jin-Woo looked at her with an expression of surprise and found a teasing smile etched on her face like a teenage girl. When Jin-Woo hesitated with his answer, Ju-hui's cheeks began puffing up like a balloon.
What? You don't want to buy me dinner? It happened, right then. Suddenly, it became quite hectic out in front.
We found it. It's the boss chamber.
Jin-Woo and Ju-hui's gazes automatically shifted to the front. And they saw a huge stone door blocking the passage. Hunters immediately surrounded this door. What is this? Why is there a door at the end of the cavern? Have we ever encountered a boss chamber with a door before? This is definitely the first time, I'm sure of it. Doesn't this feel strangely dangerous? Hunters began to express their doubts and fears one at the time. Since their own lives were on the line here, they had to be cautious and meticulous. However, if one were to become too cautious, one would end up failing to grasp the heaven-sent opportunity in the first place. Mr. Song figured this was one such case.
Are you all planning to return empty-handed after coming this far?
Song placed his hands on the door.
If that's what you want, knock yourselves out. I'm pushing ahead, even if it means I'll be going alone.
Song was a rank C hunter with 10 years of experience. If it weren't for his age, which was over 60, he'd be making a killing in a big guild by now thanks to his excellent skills. And when a hunter like that voiced his opinion with such confidence, others began to feel less anxious than before. A couple of hunters began recalling rumors of dual dungeons. I heard that there are incredible treasures hidden within dual dungeons. Yeah, I heard that a certain small to medium guild found a dual dungeon and grew into a large guild almost overnight. What if there were incredible treasures hidden with the dual dungeon just as the rumor said, and the monsters beyond this door were about the same difficulty as the rank D, E creatures they fought until now? As the other hunters were discussing about the rumors, Mr. Park also started to think about his wife having a child and the expenses that came with it.
I can't let that old man monopolize all the treasure. No freaking way, postnatal care, the school fee for the firstborn kid, and let's not forget, this month's rent is almost due, too.
The opinions of the hunters were now on the same page. Jin-Woo, too, steeled himself.
I can't return home with just a single rank E magic crystal. At a bare minimum, I gotta kill a rank D, no, one more rank E monster. It didn't even have to be a monster, too. If it's treasure instead. If we score big today, then things might improve at home for a while.
Jin-Woo nervously swallowed down his saliva. Ju-hee saw his determined expression and asked him.
Is that how the expression of someone who's a hunter as a hobby looks like?
Jin-Woo shrugged his shoulders.
Who'd bet their lives in their main line of profession nowadays? Unless it's a hobby, obviously.
Just as a dumbfounded expression formed on Ju-hui's face, Song pushed the dungeon's door and it creaked open. There must have been some sort of mechanism installed on the heavy-looking door, since the physical strength of a 60-year-old man was enough to easily open it. Now that the door was wide open, the huge open interior revealed itself. Hunters hurriedly rushed in.
Let's go in as well.
Jin-Woo feared that he'd fall behind, so he grasped Ju-hui's hand and took the lead. Ju-hui's face reddened slightly as she followed after him. As soon as hunters set foot inside, flames erupted on the numerous torches packed tightly on the walls all at the same time. Thanks to that, the interior brightened up considerably. What's the heck? The lights came on by themselves? First time seeing a dungeon like this one. Something's different about this place. Hunters cautiously studied their surroundings. The overall atmosphere of the place was similar to that of an ancient temple. Not only that, an old and somewhat decrepit temple, something that might be buried and hidden beneath the ground, moss and weed could be seen sporadically on the floor, walls, and the ceiling. The interior was nonsensically huge. The chamber was shaped like a giant dome. In the deepest part of the dome, something so logic-defyingly humongous sat on a throne just as big as itself. It was none other than a huge stone statue of a god. Oh, my god. Wow. Shocked gasps leaked out from the hunters. The first image popping up in Jin-Woo's head was of the Statue of Liberty in New York. If that statue sat down on a chair, wouldn't it be as big as that statue of the unknown god?
No, hang on. Maybe it's even bigger than that.
The chamber of the stone god statue might have been massive, yet its actual inner structure was on the simpler side. On the walls, countless torches could be found there. And in front of these walls, more stone statues, slightly taller than a human being, stood tall and unmoving. There were lots of them here as well, found at a certain distance from one another. Mr. Kim was admiring the statues there.
They are all rather beautiful, aren't they? It's like they are works of art.
Objects held by each of the stone statues were varied and different. Some held weapons, there was one with a book, some carried musical instruments, and even torches.
It's as if
They are like statues of a holy temple or something.
Song finished what Kim wanted to say. Then, Song found something beneath his feet.
Isn't this a magic formation?
He found a magic formation that he had never seen before located in the middle of this temple. It was then.
Excuse me, Mr. Song. Something's written here. Can you come over here and take a look?
One of the hunters discovered a statue that was different from others and called out to Song. Song stopped studying the magic formation and got up from the floor. Other hunters all gathered around the statue Song was headed off to. Only this statue featured a pair of wings and carried a stone slate. What the hunters focused on was the letters carved into this slate. Song took a sweeping look at the slate and muttered to no one in particular. It's rune alphabet. The rune alphabet. Words that could not be found anywhere on Earth, and found only within dungeons. Only the hunters who had awakened the magic-related professions could decipher them.
The laws of the Karudnan Temple.
Song read the very first verse. With a deeply nervous face, Jin-Woo listened to the contents of the slate, as read out by Mr. Song. However, someone suddenly tugged at his arm. When he looked back, he spotted Ju-Hui and her deathly pale complexion. To watch what happens next, continue to watch along the series and subscribe so you don't miss the next video. If you enjoyed the video, press the like button and comment your feedback. See you in the next video.